Hello, everybody. It's George the Hulk from the Bothan Network here. So, I want to talk about the whys of Cad Colossus. We just wrapped up the Bothan Invitational in Atlanta and ended up taking second place. Very happy with the result. And I think the process of building this deck and going through the math, so to speak, I think had a lot of really interesting revelations. So, I just wanted to talk about that. First off, why Cad? Why Colossus? Why Blue? You run Tarkin Town, all those sort of good, juicy synergies with like IGs and pinging and killing on turn one. Why do we go this direction? Well, I think it's important to see like strategically what are the strongest things your deck's doing. Cad Bane wants your opponent to have 0 to 1 units. You want to be able to predict where that ping is going. Right? When your opponent has 2 units and you can put it on a unit that doesn't really hit an important breakpoint or isn't super impactful, your leader ability got 0 value. But if your opponent has 1 unit and you can plan around that and you can scam them, that's where you want to be. Right? And what other card really wants your opponent to have 1 unit and exactly 1 unit? Or reliable. Power of Dark Side. So these things, massive synergy. Now, how are we doing that? Think about removal in this game, especially 1-for-1 removal. If you're trying to play a control type style strategy, is you don't get good removal until turn 2. You don't get consistent removal until turn 3, until 4 resources. So what are you doing for the first 2 turns? Cad Bane answers that. He turns all of your underworld units not only above rate, but also into solid removal that hits a lot of the meta. So I like to say blue gives you permission to not have initiative. Because the red version of the deck, you don't want to have initiative. You want to get to this ping, and you want to get to Tarkin Town, right? But it's super predictable. Your opponent can play around it, and they have a lot of opportunity to. With Pike Sentinel, Cloud Rider, and Sidon, I'm going to get that option. They either don't play on turn 1, which is your game plan. And let's go to late game. Let's go as a control deck. Or they play into it and run into head first into a bunch of scams. If you're playing double 1-drop version of Django, Cloud Rider 2-for-1, Pike Sentinel, block your dude, kill your first order stormtrooper, whatever. All the sequences end up in the same place. Even Crafty Smuggler, right? A little unassuming. Against the Battlefield Marine, a Sabine unit, I ping your unit. This 1 damage means everything on turn 1. So, that's why that. And I think the Colossus, rather than 30, there's some psychological element here, right? Where, especially with like, I'm Your Father is a really big part of this, but I'll talk about this when I get in the win conditions. I don't talk about win conditions now. Why not? I'll mix it up. So how is this deck winning? It's a bunch of dirty little guys and some removal. How are you dealing 30 damage or 25 damage to your opponent's base? 2 big ways. In the Django meta, in the world we live in, you can't play good big dumb dudes and win the game. They're gonna ping you, time walk you, and you're gonna feel bad, right? You need to save your life total, which we already started the game with top target cast and claimed. So cool. Step 1. Step 2, you need to put them in check from a very high life total. So, because they're not gonna give you a lot of opportunities to do that unless they mess up somewhere, but in general, we're not that kind of strategy. There are those kind of strategies, your Hans or whatever, but like that's not what we're doing. We're doing a very specific sequence. We're doing have a good flip turn. So that's be my 3rd point. So I'll go over that later. Vacuum up everything with Cad Bane. Throw a blaster on him. Deal 9 damage. And now you're in check with 9 health left. This is 18 damage and effectively 1 action. You follow the logic, right? You need them to have to claim. And once they're at that stage, they're helpless. Voltroning up Cad Bane Leader is the other win condition. That's why you have things like Jetpack, Covert Strength, so allow you to do that. This is against decks that are able to deal with Lompike. It usually can't deal with Cad Bane Unit and Cad Bane Leader. Those decks don't really some decks can do both at the same time. Shields are obnoxious from Relentless Pursuit, from Jetpack, all this sort of stuff. They can't bounce that Cad Bane. That's the general win condition of it, and why it synergizes with blue and specifically with Colossus. Now, the deck building puzzle. I'm going to gush about Colossus for a while here. I think this is such a subtle and clever design. I'm probably just going to be a Colossus gamer forever, but we'll see. So, it was a thought experiment I had talked about on Jonathan Fisher's podcast called the Perfect Curve. And the basic question is, if you just want to play on curve, if you just want to play a 2 cost with a 2 resource turn, 3 cost and a 3 resource turn, 4 cost all the way up, what does your deck look like? What are the ratios? How curve can go? So, with that, the best answer I can come up with is with 50 cards, you can get 94% consistency going up to the 6 resource turn. This is why you have decks like Sabine, like like Boba, being very, very consistent at what they do. They go up to that 6 resource turn. I'm going into the math of it over there. But it looks like it's a similar thought experiment. I want to talk about Colossus. I don't care about normal 30 bases. They're boring. So about the Colossus. You have one less card. Changes everything. Right? So, how consistent can you get that deck when you lose that one card? Well, when you run the numbers, you get 95% consistency of playing on curve. You have to have 70 cards in your 50 card deck. It's not possible, right? Incorrect. In this game it is. This is a 2 cost and a 4 cost. This is a 4 cost and a 5 cost. This is a 3 cost and a 4 cost. All the modularity of all these cards changes the consistency of how this deck plays. Every underworld unit in this deck is an underworld unit, possibly plus 1 resource to deal 3 damage. So, yeah, you're able to get this extreme level of consistency, being able to play maximum value every single turn because of Smuggle and the synergy with Colossus. And again, this has synergy with Cad Bane, because a lot of these Smuggle cards are Underworld. So not only is Lompike incredibly statted, 4/6 for 4. I don't go into that. Anyway, 4/6 for 4, but it also pings the damage when it plays, or if Cad Bane's flipped, 2 damage immediately. Smuggle in this deck, Smuggle in general, has the positive feedback loop of the more Smuggle cards you have, the more likely you are to hit another Smuggle card off your Smuggle card, and that's effective card draw. One of the things I like to say about Smuggle is it is card draw that you don't have to pay for until it's above rate. And then the mild attacks from Smuggle, barely feel it, right? If you're using that Smuggler Starfighter to basically brick someone's TDR or blank someone's TDR, you're feeling great. If you use Lompike to just shut down the ground arena and don't give your opponent a chance, you feel great. You have this Bothan Invitational in your resource row, and then you get that late game sequence where they need a surprise strike or they need a removal card for your Cad Bane unit or your leader. Goodbye. I think Bothan is one of the highest skill cards in his deck. It's actually funny when we were doing our stat analysis of like what the win rate of the different cards in the deck were. It's actually one of the lower ones. Whoops. It's just tricky because like you really have to get reads on your opponent, what cards they're thinking about playing, why they're doing certain things, and what plays it's going to lead to. It's one of the most important things about being a control player is you basically need to know what's in your opponent's hand before they play it. And you can do that by like judging off the sequencing of how they're playing their cards and kind of getting in their head and think about what they're doing. Or you can just look at their hand and say, hey, I don't need to guess. So, but on the flip side, if you play Bothan and their hand is not the gas, you just play the 4 resource 1/3. It doesn't feel good. Anyway, so really high skill cap card, super fun to play with. So let's talk about Django. Why this deck is my answer to the Django meta. Number one, 35 health. Huge. Obviously, there's going to be some games where you just blow them out and it doesn't matter. And you're like, man, why did I draw one less card? There'll be a lot of games where you're not in check because of 35 health. Like, 35 health, I don't like to think of it as I need to be at 32 or 33 damage on base to feel like I got value out of this. I like to think of it as a lot of decks are optimized with their resource curves, with like how they use their card advantage. Like they're optimized around that 25 health, like kill 25 health base, go. I'm playing yellow, red, I'm gonna burn you out. Whatever. You're playing a 35 health base, and you say, that's not good enough. Second attack TDR, or second attack Nemesis Raider, cool. Do that 2 more times. Like, a lot of decks don't have that luxury. And we do. But not only do we have the luxury of not being in check sooner, being able to turn the corner with our leader and Cad Bane and, jump up on that graph, so to speak, of like damage you're presenting and such. We also are a deck built around answering these sneak attack, these TDR plays. Remember earlier I was talking about the main mini game of blue-black is getting our opponent on 1 unit? What deck helps us do that? Django. It literally helps us in our goal. You want to trade board presence with your sneak attacks and your TDRs to try and deal damage to my base? I take that trade every day of the week. Let's go. I dare you to play TDR. Number one, you're walking into your no glories, your it's EMPs on the side, all this sort of removal stuff. You're taking that risk, but also you're making yourself more vulnerable in the future to my removal. I can be at a stage where you're not likely killing Cad leader. He's very healthy. He's an 8 health leader. Very difficult to take out. So now I can just put you on a clock and say, cool, attack with Cad unit, wait till you play your unit and remove it. Very, very textbook way the matchup plays out. Yeah. So let's talk about the flip turn and how this gets, how this kind of all comes together. So Colossus, or I was saying earlier, you need 70 cards to make that level of consistency. Well, it's because of Smuggle, because we have 14 turn 1 plays. 14 turn 1 plays. That means you're going to draw a lot of really crappy top decks. Incorrect. Cad Bane, again, coming in as the hero in this story. I'm happy to play a Cloud Rider on turn 4, turn 5. And killing something with it, pinging something else, changes the math of the board by a lot. A 2/3 Sentinel, fantastic. A massive heal while dealing damage, not only with Cad Ping, but also protecting my other units and forcing you to an action out of you. Fantastic. Bothan, again, another 2-cost play. I would argue is much better later than early. There's some scam potential with it, but it doesn't work at a high level and bad stats. This, when you know your opponent's making what their deck, when your opponent's doing what the deck wants to do, this stops them from doing that. When you see a record to kill my Cad, too bad. Try again. Anyway, let's see. Flip turn. So the most level one level of the flip turn this game in this deck is 4 costs plus 2 costs, right? And this is where again, Smuggler Starfighter, the hero of the story. Play Cloud Rider, flip Cad, Smuggler Starfighter, attack Cad into whatever. Pike Sentinel, protect your Cad, flip your Cad, Smuggler Starfighter, kill whatever. You have Bothan, remove whatever unit removal your opponent would have for Cad, and then play, then flip Cad, 2 cost. That's like level 1. You're getting 3 extra damage for free, which is softening up your opponent's board. Obviously, CAD math is very complicated. I can't possibly go over all the iterations of that, but like where your opponent puts the damage, how you can maneuver that, lots of interesting stuff there. Now, why do we care about getting 3 extra damage? Oh yeah, extra damage. Wouldn't I rather be doing something like a Relentless Pursuit plus Hotshot Blaster? We're getting there. The reason you want 3 damage from the Cad flip turn is because it sets up Cad Bane unit the most consistently. So I see this mistake. I've watched some gameplay of people playing this deck, and one of the biggest mistakes I see is they get excited. They see their Cad Bane unit, they're just like, vacuum up everything. We did the thing, and they'll have 3 units underneath it, and then Cad Bane dies, and you basically kill their units for him, right? Because capture is a double-edged sword. This is a super laser blast that comes with a 7/7. That's an insane amount of power. You gotta respect it. So the actual optimal use of Cad Bane unit is capturing all units except for one that's been heavily damaged, and then that ping from Cad Bane kills that one unit. That's what you want to be setting up. And that's why the Cad flip turn is so important. So what does the actual optimal Cad flip turn look like? It's actually 3 cost upgrade, McClunky 2 cost. This is where you want to be. Because this is when you start presenting the clock, right? When you're capturing their big scary unit, huge swift, like if they're trying to race you, you can't race me. If they're trying to answer you, good luck killing my 8 health leader. I'm sorry, wrong one. Oops, that chaos. Good luck trying to kill my 8 health unit. Now it's 9 health. Hotshot Blaster, let's go to town. That's generally the highest power flip turn that you're looking to set up. And obviously, depending on like if your opponent's playing a discard strategy and it's hard to set that up, like whatever, you still have lots of other ways to do it. One important thing to look at as far as these, you see a flip turn, I'm like, you need 3 cards to do this flip turn. This simple, and take these nice, easy steps to play a 3-card flip turn. Smuggle. This isn't a card. Like your resource rail. McClunky? Well, which order do you want to play it? If you have a 2 cost, if you have a UU amounts, sick. Play it first. Remove some units, it becomes removable, it's efficient. Or, if you don't, no problem. Crafty Smuggler, they're not killing that. Boom. McClunky. Use 1 card. This card bounces the other card. So at this stage of the game, you're wanting to sandbag your in-game pieces. All this is very not taxing onto your hand size, making you more flexible as the game goes on. So we talked about the flip turn, and then let's talk about, this is part 2 of the win conditions. Dragon Boss, right? You look at the stats, this is actually the highest win percentage card in the deck. Now, the obvious thing alarm bell should be going off in your head. It's like, how often are you playing it? Not that often. That's the correct answer. Sometimes it'll be a 5/7 shielded. Not optimal, right? The thing about Dragon Boss is, when it's a fun, it is fun, but primarily when you get into situations where your CAD leader dies, and you need that CAD unit to win, and your opponent plays like an Avenger, and you steal that Avenger, you don't want to attack with a CAD unit. You still have, let's say you have another 20 damage to be able to deal on their base. You don't want to give them their Avenger back. It's terrible. Even for 2 cards, give them a 9 resource play for your 2 cards. Like, that's not it. Dragon Boss turns the tide. Boom. Not only am I not only am I playing my Ear Avengers and I get to answer all 3 of these units, the game is just over. You're not answering all 3 units. Decks aren't on Super Laser Blast anymore, not realistically. Not past like round 2. Sorry. But decks are just too good at refilling nowadays, and they have too much burst damage from hand. Whereas Super Laser Blast is a massive point of vulnerability. And there's an argument for Super Laser Blast in this deck. Actually, one of the reasons I first looked at this archetype was because of the synergy with Cad Bane and Super Laser Blast, where you Cad Bane, backing much stuff up. If they have the answer to Cad Bane, sweet. They spent some resources to kill your Cad Bane. Now you Super Laser Blast everything. Now it's reset. That's a sequence, in-game sequence I liked. The thing is, as we were testing, Super Laser Blast was the lowest win rate card in the deck. Like, even in the games we played it feels good, especially in this deck. You can Super Laser Blast 6 units, 5 units. You're just like, yeah, blast them away, fire. But does it actually turn into a win? More often than not, no, it doesn't. So, yeah, I think that's Colossus. How we're leveraging 2 costs to make a powerful flip turn. How we're using that to have a consistent early game with the Colossus. How we're leveraging that health by having a lot of answers to the in-game Devastator sort of stuff. So, like, if they play Sneak Attack Devastator, how many answers do we have? We have a ton. Power Dark Side, no good to be dead. Only no glory. Cad Bane unit. Contacted Drum Master. It's not a play I've seen against watching people play this deck. Way too willing to run this out. Keep it in your hand. Wait for them to play one of the Devastator, and then save yourself 9 life. Turn the scariest play into the meta, Sneak Attack Devastator for 13 damage in the base, into a 7 resource 2 card for a cause, dealing 4 damage to your base. Sentinel's good. Anyway, I think that's the whys of Cad Colossus. I think as long as you understand CAD math, being able to deal 3 damage in one action, 1 damage somewhere else, all these sort of interactions, you can get a really feel for how powerful this deck really is and how card advantage gives you a bunch of options. Anyway, it's a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for watching.